If you're looking for the answers, I still don't have them, but what I do have is a particular set of skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people who mislead, misinform, or misrepresent the sports card industry. So if you don't do that, I'll let it go. But if you do, we're going to talk about you. This episode is brought to you by the great people over at Gradesaver Pro. Make sure you visit gradesaverpro.com for all your card supply needs, including the Gradesaver Pro Card Sleeve, the only sleeve with an attached pull tab and the only sleeve I will use for my cards. And make sure when you check out, use code INVESTIGATOR. That will give you 25% off your entire order. And thanks again to the great people at Gradesaver Pro for our episode giveaway. After each episode, we will give away some of the great products from Gradesaver Pro. To be eligible, it's simple. Simply like and subscribe to the video, leave a comment, and if you're randomly selected, we will be in touch and tell you the next steps. So, congratulations to last episode's winners, and good luck to you. With that, Ty, hit the music! Guys, welcome to another episode of the Sports Card Investigator. My name is Andy. I am the aforementioned Sports Card Investigator. And today, got a special show. Have two guests I'm going to bring on right away to talk about cards. I'm not even going to wait. I'm not going to hesitate. I'm going to bring these guys right on. Jordan and Ryan, welcome to the Sports Card Investigator show. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks, Andy.
No problem. So I think the guys that watch the show know Jordan, and people that watch content around the sports card content world are very familiar with Ryan. First time on my show, but I'm glad to have Ryan on. He is an expert in everything vintage baseball and fakes, and I think he actually may have a book coming on board soon. We could talk a little bit about that. But I wanted to just get these guys on, have a couple questions, but I also want to let you guys know that there's so many great resources out there, so many people that know what they're talking about, and those are the guys that you should be listening to, and these guys are those type of guys. So without delay, Jordan and Ryan, tell me a little bit about what you guys are doing, and I think you guys have a new show.
You want to start?
Yeah, I'll start. So we started a brand new show about 2 months ago, which was Moneyball Cards. Me and Jordan are actually full-time data analysts. So at work, we analyze data. We use SQL and build out tables and charts based around this type of stuff. And we both really appreciate sports cards and how the hobby's been changing with the data revolution. And we have all these different data tools out there, such as like market movers. So a few months ago, we were talking a bit. I found Jordan was also a data analyst, and I was like, you know what? Let's build out a data show where every single week we research different myths or facts that people shout out in the hobby and actually put data behind it. And then we can also research things that we're kind of interested in. And we started doing that and found it was really, really fun. So now we have a weekly show where we put data to all the different sports cards in there. And we're calling it Moneyball Cards because like Moneyball, how it kind of revolutionized baseball at the time and other sports eventually, we want to do that with the card side of things.
Yeah, so basically you have YouTubers who give their opinions on cards and they don't put facts behind it. And, you know, there's a place for that. People find it entertaining to just see what people are showing off and what they guess a card's value is going to go to. If we say something like that, we're saying it because there's data to back it up. We're going to use historical data to try to predict what cards will do in the future, and it'll help you make investment decisions or collecting decisions, the best time to buy or the best time to sell, whether it's a rookie or a guy who's been in the league for a long time. We're taking a look at the history, and we're using market movers to figure out where the best part is of the year or of the season, whether it's off season, leading up to the season, playoffs, or we're just looking at individual players and we're just diving into the individual player to see if they're a good buy or if they're not a good buy. Basically just using analytics and stats and our experience with analytics just to give our opinion. You don't have to listen to anything we say, but we're trying to do it the smart way, because we're at the point in the hobby where everything's exploded and it's cooled off. And this is where the big boys are made. This is where you can't just buy anything and you're going to make money off of it. You need to be smart, and you can go and look at your own statistics, and make your own assumptions based off of it, and that's fine. But you can watch our show, Moneyball Cards, and see what we think as well. So that's what we're doing with the podcast.
No, I think it's great, because I mentioned that in another episode that before 2 years ago, 18 months ago, I could have had my dog go into a hat, pick out and that rookie's going to, and I guarantee you buy that rookie and he's going to continue. Those days are over, right? And now you're seeing it kind of fall off a little bit, where we're separating the people that are going to be in the hobby to the people who are just here and they're not going to be able to survive going forward. And I try to look for every advantage I can. Now, Jordan, you know that what I do. I go for first-year rookie guys. I target a few of those. I use everything at my disposal. I do research. But what you guys do is so important, because we're identifying trends and we're identifying statistics that are consistent with the growth of a player or the growth of, if what they're going to do. It could be a projection. I wouldn't even call it an educated guess. It's analysis that's been done over time and has been proven. Is that an accurate assessment?
You said Jordan.
Oh, you're talking to me? I'm sorry.
Whoever wants to answer.
I thought you said Jordan. My bad.
Oh no, well, Jordan knows what I do with basketball, but Ryan, please chime in too. You guys are looking at a statistical analysis that will help someone say maybe they're on the fence about a player, or maybe they're just like, well, why is this player all of a sudden doing well, or whatever it may be. This is just another tool in the toolbox to help you going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it shows people how they can research things. And if they don't have time to do the research, they can watch the episodes and at least become a little bit more educated.
Yeah, and a lot of stuff is based off just popularity, and we've taken that into account as well, looking at things like jersey sales or all-star votes, and there's numbers for popularity, and you can add that into cards, and
it all factors in.
Yep.
Right.
Like one thing I look at is how many searches a player will get over a year span. So I use a tool called SEMrush, SEMrush, and it gives historical search engine data. And there's a decent correlation between the amount of searches and the sales price. I was building out different models based around that, All-Star Games, World Series, and also WAR on the baseball side of things. Mm-hmm. And I got like an R-squared value. I think it was like 0.8 or something like that. I didn't finish the full model, but it was pretty predictive. There's a few outliers out there. People like Jacob deGrom, who is a pitcher, and also kind of out of nowhere, his prices really, really spiked this year because of how insane of a season he was having. But if you take out those outliers, the R-square would go up as well.
Well, all right. So before I go into a basketball question, while Ryan, you were on baseball, I do not know much about baseball. I like baseball. I watch baseball. I'm a Philadelphia Phillies fan. Behind me, I have a Mike Schmidt rookie card. I have a lot of Philly stuff, but I don't really know. Baseball to me is interesting because I see sometimes that you could have a kid that's not even 18, 19 years old, hasn't even sniffed the majors, but the card's going crazy, right? I mean, whether that's good or not or whatever it is. And I know it's a whole different world for me, but forget all that. Buster Posey's retiring. Tell me what you know about Buster Posey, because is he going to be in the Hall of Fame or is he not? Because I know people are probably holding a lot of Buster Posey who are like, please, Ryan, please say yes, he will be in the Hall of Fame.
I wish I could say yes. And I do think he'll end up getting in just because of the popularity side of the voting. But looking at the data behind catchers and everything that Buster Posey has for him, he had way too short of a career. And the stats don't line up. I have 4 pages of research here, and I don't have everything fully done yet. But But a few of the stats I like taking a look at first is Jaws. So it kind of gives you like a career average of their peak. And Posey right now is 14th all time in Jaws. It's similar to like a WAR stat where it's over 7 years, but an average Hall of Famer is a 44.3 as a catching position. Posey's at 40.7. So we already know he's a little bit below average on there.
Yep.
Now let's take a look at WAR, which counts for the entire career, not just 7 years.
Now, WAR, for people who don't know, is what wins above replacement, correct?
Correct. Yes. So it's been a popular stat a lot of people use nowadays to kind of overall paint a picture about a player. Now the catching position's a little bit different because not all WAR stats. There's a difference between Fangraphs and Baseball Reference WAR, and different things like framing abilities and being able to throw out runners. Like that's not all fully calculated to the best extent yet. Catchers, it's such a defensive position. It's hard to throw WAR completely. So I have other stats as well, but WAR wise, I'm using Baseball Reference WAR, by the way. The average Hall of Famer is about 54 WAR. Posey has 45. So looking at Jaws and WAR, he's already below average, just overall painting a picture. Now, a lot of people are going to say, okay, Posey won MVP as a catcher. That is rare, and 100%. So there's been 12 catchers that won MVP awards. However, only 7 are Hall of Famers on that side of things. So we know, okay, he's also won an MVP, which is a good thing. On here as well, we're talking about all-star games. There's 25 catchers that had 7 or more all-star games. 7 all-star games is great, especially as a catcher, as a short career, but there's 25 other players out there that have that. Another thing as well is 1,500 hits. So what makes the 1,500 hits interesting is since the expansion era, there's not been one Hall of Famer that's been elected that has had less than 2,000 hits.
Wow.
Posey has 1,500. We're talking about 500. We're not talking about like 100 difference or
That's
200.
not a couple at bats, right?
Huge difference. And the thing also, there's 34 catchers, if I'm reading this correctly, that have had over 1,500 hits. So he's below average now on the hit side of things. He's below average on the All-Star games. Now I'm taking a look at home runs. So Posey wasn't a home run hitter. His most home runs in one season was 24, and he only had 158 home runs in his career. There's 39 catchers that have more than 158 home runs. So just based off of this type of stuff, and I have a lot more as well, we're already getting the sense of hitting-wise, he's not Hall of Fame standard. He's below average on that. WAR and Jaws, he's almost that level, but he's below average. So one thing people are always going to talk about is, okay, Posey was a generational player for the Giants. He won 3 World Series championships. Shouldn't that get some credit? 3 is a ton of World Series. And I agree, it's been really good. They had a run from 2010 to 2016. But taking a look at his World Series and NLCS. In the NLCS, he batted 188 in his career. And the World Series, he batted 230 in his career. So he wasn't clutch during the NLCS or the World Series. Now, another thing is, okay, he has 3 rings. That is a lot of rings. Sure. But there's a lot of other players that have much more rings that are in the Hall of Fame. For example, Hank Bauer, 7 World Series rings, not in the Hall of Fame. Frank Crosetti, 6 rings. Tommy Henrich, 4 rings. Johnny Murphy, 6 rings. And there's a lot of different players. I just was grabbing random names from this list. But it just shows you that there's players with 7 rings that aren't in the Hall of Fame. 3, it's good, but 7 not in the Hall of Fame as well. And one thing I'm going to look at as well is the defensive side of things, because, again, I was talking about how important defense is for a catcher. So I was looking at how well Buster Posey was throwing pitches, and I was looking at Baseball Savant, and they had different rankings each year since 2015. So in 2015, he was ranked 5th place overall. 2016, he was 1st place. 2017, 18. 2018, he was 24th place. 19, he was 9th. And 21, he was in 8th place. Now, Fangraphs said over his career, he would save about 13 wins and 129 runs because of his framing. So he was a good framer, but he wasn't 1st place. Someone like Yadier Molina, who has been the best defensive catcher for a very long time. Now, another thing that's really important for defensive catchers is throwing out batters from people that are stealing. Now, the best in the league right now is Yadier Molina, and Yadier Molina has a 40% caught stealing rate. Posey is 33%, so we have a 7% difference there. The league average is 29%. So he's above average, but he's not Yadier Molina level. Right. And because of how good Yadier Molina is, he's only won 1 Gold Glove from that position. But I also want to look historically. So what's the best Hall of Famers and what are some other Hall of Famers as well to compare them with? So the best was actually Roy Campanella, who had amazing, almost a 57% caught stealing rate. I didn't know that before researching. But it just shows you how good Campanella was as a catcher. Because if you look at his offensive stats, if he didn't get paralyzed, he probably would have been number 1 or number 2 best hitting catcher of all time, probably behind Pudge Rodriguez. But I didn't know he had a 57% caught stealing rate. That's amazing. But also there's 3 other catchers as well. So Ivan Rodriguez has a 46%. Thurman Munson has 44%. And I think it was Sundberg, if I read my handwriting correctly, had a 41% caught stealing rate. So looking from that perspective, yeah, Posey was good in this era, but compared to other historical Hall of Famers, he's still low on that end. And just like detailing as well, again, from WAR stats things, just to show how good he was in his career. For seasons over 4 WAR, 3 to 4 WAR is a pretty good season. So I wanted to look at just over 4 WAR. He's only had 6 seasons with that, and he's only had 4 seasons with over 5 WAR. Again, I have a lot more research. We're going to put in the full Moneyball Cards episode. But detailing everything I have right there, he's a good player. He's definitely a likable guy. I think he's going to get more in the Hall of Fame just because people really, really like Posey. And a lot of people want to put at least one player from that Giants run from 2010 to 2016 in the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
And who are you going to put in there? I mean, besides Posey, maybe Madison Bumgarner, but he kind of fell off pitching-wise the last few years. So Lincecum's not going to make the Hall of Fame as well. And you're just going through a list. It's like, who's the best player WAR-wise for those 6 years for the Giants? And it was Posey. There was anyone close.
What was Posey's length in the majors as far as his?
So I have that data. It is on one of these pages.
I'm just saying out of curiosity with the other guys, was it? Because I know he had injuries, but was it cut that much shorter than a lot of guys?
Well, he only played, I think it was 11 years, but the thing is, he didn't play a ton of games. I think it was, hold on, I have it one of these sheets. I'll have to look for it. I think he played 11 or 12 full years.
Right.
Since he first got called up in 2009. But what I found interesting is about half of his seasons, he only played over 110 games.
Right. No, I don't. Do you guys hear that? Is that all the Buster Posey eBay sales returns at this point?
But so here's the thing I want to say as well. There's another catcher out there, if you're looking to put money into it, is Joe Mauer. Joe Mauer had a longer career. He has the counting stats. He's in top 10 for a lot of different things between like hits and home runs. And WAR-wise, much, much higher. But when Joe Mauer retired, you didn't see the hobby love as much as Buster Posey, which I found really, really interesting. I think, like I said, I think Posey's a good player, but there's other catchers that are more deserving, like Thurman Munson, a Yankee legend who died really early into his career,
sure.
Right? Above Posey on everything, and he didn't get elected to the Hall of Fame. So are you going to say Posey is more worthy than Thurman Munson? At that point, if Posey gets in before Thurman Munson, is there something wrong with the Baseball Hall of Fame voting process? And I know a lot of people are going to say there's a lot less catchers than there's other positions out there. 100% agree. I think more catchers should be out there. But if you're looking at the voting right now, there's other players that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame before him.
Yeah, and this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. What Ryan just said in the last 4 or 5 minutes, it's not like, oh, I think he's a great player. He's a really good player. Oh, he hits well. No, it gets so much more into that. And on some of these things, you have to get into the weeds to understand it. And this is the kind of stuff that I just love because it goes above what I normally look at as far as what I look at a player. And it's guys like this that do the analytics, the data, the analysis, who spend the time to do it so you don't have to. Plus, they know what they're doing. It's just priceless information. And the reactionary market, as soon as they said when he was retiring, I would love to know. And I didn't even look because I'm not even a baseball guy, but did his prices just go crazy after they announced?
So I haven't looked yet, but we're going to use market movers and take a look at that and see how that's changed as well, and then look at some other players that have retired recently.
For sure. Jordan, what's up?
Yeah, so before we move on to any other subject, I wanted to say, so Ryan, he's a baseball expert. Knows a lot about hockey too. I like baseball, I like hockey, but I don't know it like on the level he does. And he's mostly vintage, where I know a lot about modern. We both know about the same for NFL. I know a lot more about NBA and mixed martial arts. So we're definitely bringing in all the sports and all like just the modern and the vintage when it comes to Moneyball. We basically have the two opposite history and background. And like when it comes to investing, I'm trying to buy a card and I'm trying to make money in the next few months. Sometimes I'll hold a card for a year. He's looking at guys who are going to be in the Hall of Fame. So he's buying cards that he might flip it right away if he finds a good deal. But he's looking mostly to hold them as their career progresses, or if it's a guy that's is being overlooked, who is a vintage player who's already in the Hall of Fame, and he knows that their statistics say they should be more, not overlooked. I don't know if there's a word.
And I think that's an important point, because a lot of guys out there, self-proclaimed experts, but they're not scouts, they're not data analysts, they're just guys that say like, I think. Well, no one really cares what you think because you don't know, and that's where I look for. And it makes it good is you guys know, like people can ask me questions about baseball or football or hockey. I'm a fan of them all, but I don't know anything about them. Basketball is what I do. I know, Jordan, you're basketball. You do the mixed martial art. Ryan, if there's like Alec Boehm is going to be a Hall of Famer. There's no doubt about that, right? So we don't have to even discuss right. Yeah. I got so much Alec Boehm, forget about it. So I mean, we're good to go there. But Ryan knows baseball, so you got to go to the guys that know. So speaking of which, gives me a good segue. One of the things that I asked Jordan was, when I look at basketball players, first year rookie cards, I do all the research I can. I find people who know. I know a lot of people that are in and around the NBA. Jordan does a lot of statistical stuff. So when I target 3 or 4 players, even now going forward, because the hobby has changed so much, it's not that easy to do anymore, to just pick a guy out of a hat and he's going to go, and you buy him on a Thursday and you sell him on the following Monday. Those days are gone. So what I do is, it's very important to pick the players that you think are going to do well. Now, in the past, as I said, I could pick a player and then I could just pick a date in the future. I'll get rid of it and I know I'll make money on it, whether I'm going to send it in for grading, which is a whole other story, or I'm going to buy it raw or whatever. Now it's just so much more difficult, because my dilemma sometimes is I'll get a player that I got right when he started, where he met my criteria, and I got rid of him because I made enough money on that guy that I'm happy to get rid of. But there's some guys that I look back at, and I hate to do it because they always say, don't look back, be happy with what you did. It's like, man, if I just would have kept that card 4 or 5 more years, I would have been so much better off, or the money I would have made would have been so much more. So I asked Jordan, I said, is there anything statistical that will look at a player that shows when he is going to make that next level jump? Like some guys going from, is it year 2 to year 3, year 3 to year 4 years, whatever it is. So Jordan, I talked enough. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I looked up 20 players who have played, some of the longest careers in the NBA, and what I took a look at was a stat called VORP, VORP, as value over replacement player. It's like WAR, except for basketball, and I got it from Basketball Reference. They keep VORP for every year. Except for like the early 70s and earlier, they didn't have any VORP for those seasons. Mm-hmm. So I had to take out guys who played back then.
Sure.
But I took a look at VORP. What I mean by value over replacement player, some people just hear that and they're like, what's replacement player? So replacement player is a player that's replaceable. So if you get a 0 VORP, a 0.0 on your season, that means you are replaceable. Sometimes you can get negative VORP, which means you're more than replaceable. So your value over replacement is just that much. So LeBron's had seasons where he's got 11 VORP, where some of those Cavalier seasons where he's just controlling everything.
Not replaceable.
So yeah, he's on this list. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. What I did was I took a look at these 20 players. You'll recognize pretty much all the names. And I took a look at their best year based off VORP and the year that they made their biggest jump.
Okay.
So they're different. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. We'll take a look at that. So we have our 20 players. I have the season played and I have the average. So average of 19 seasons. We got LeBron here, Carmelo, Kobe, Dirk, Garnett, Carter, Robert Parrish, Shaq. So Paul Pierce, all these guys, all these legends, and took a look at their best year. So LeBron, like his best year was year 6, and I took an average of all of these using a formula, and we came away with year 8. So season 8 was where guys had their best season. Wow. And we always talk about guys' primes. When does their prime start? And I've always heard like 26 to 27, age 26, 27. And when you think about it, you have guys who came in the league at age 18, 19, and sometimes 20. So if you say the average is maybe 19 years old, that guy comes into the league, and you add on 8 years, you're looking at age 27. Or if you say it's 18, 26, 27. So it's about when their prime starts is when they had their best year on average, based off all these. And with looking at VORP and their biggest jump, which is a different year, I came away with 6.21. So year 6. And before we started filming, you mentioned their rookie contract, and I'm pretty sure rookie contract is 5 years, correct?
Well, it's 2 years, and then I think there's an option after that. So it really depends on if they're going to pick up that 3-year option, right?
Right, and then so you have your 6th year where you either just became a restricted free agent and now you're still stuck with your team, or you moved on to a different team. So year 6 seems to be where guys made their biggest jump. Like LeBron was year 2. So he's like one of the only few guys, Vince Carter, year 2, where they didn't have a great rookie year, and then they just exploded their sophomore season. But a lot of these guys, it took a while, like 15 years for Karl Malone for him to make his biggest jump. Other guys, 12 years. But looking at the average, year 6 is where their rookie contract is pretty much up, and they're fighting for more money now. So they start playing better.
One of the guys that come to mind, I think he might be in year 6 or 7, is a guy like Zach LaVine, right? Wasn't he 2015? I don't know if he's on, I can't think he's on your list, but like that's a guy that kind of falls in line with that. And there's some guys coming up on that 5-6 years, like a Jaylen Brown, a Ingram, Simmons, we'll talk about, or a Buddy Hield, like those. So it's interesting.
We can look up Zach LaVine while I'm on here. We can just cut this out. Zach LaVine. I know he didn't play for that long as these other guys, but we can take a look at his VORP while we're live. Go down. There's VORP. Okay, so there's his best year,
which is 25.
Yeah, so that's season 7.
There you go.
Yeah. So, and then you can see the biggest jump. Then, I mean, he got negative that 1 year, so it'd be a 1.6 there.
Yeah, it looks like his biggest jump was around year 5, and then year 7. Yeah, so pretty close to the average of all the other guys. So if you're hoping a guy's going to make the biggest jump in year 2, not many guys did that. It was Vince Carter and LeBron, and so you're gonna have to wait a while. And I'm stop sharing and try to get back.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you have some of these guys that come in with so much hype, like Ja Morant. Obviously his 3rd year, but he's going to be in the MVP conversation. So if he has that trajectory, then you like Ja Morant, it may not be the smartest thing to sell his cards, even though his cards, look, they're way off from where they were as everything else was. But his trajectory might be slow and steady till he hits that. And as long as he stays healthy and other things in consideration, a guy like that 5-6 years in could really, really
Take
move.
off.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, if he's in the MVP conversation, maybe this is his year where he's making that leap. But history says, if you hold till year 6, he's going to make even bigger leap. So if he's already in the MVP conversation in year 3, he might easily be in the MVP conversation in year 6, and then by year 8, he's having his best year. And year 8, I'm pretty sure year 8, that's after the rookie contract. And then if you get that extra year 8's when you're unrestricted free agent.
Correct.
So that's when guys are going to different teams and making that
really
leap.
making the big contracts. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. It's interesting because it's like you think about it too. Some of these guys are gone after 3 or 4 years. Or like they have a good year, their second year, third year. If the player, I guess it's like different pieces, right? The guy's still around after 8 years and he's continuing that trajectory, then he's got a shot, not just to be good or a journeyman or a guy that's hanging around for a while, and not LeBron great, but a guy that's a very, very, very good player.
Right. So yeah, you can take this statistics and do whatever you want with it. We're not telling you this is, the end all be all. This is just what we looked at. This is not our opinion. This is just what the numbers say. And when it comes to data, you can have 100 different people look at the same chart and you can come out with 100 different, viewpoints on the data. So we just look at it because we're data analysts and we have that experience. So we're just giving our input and there's no bias to it. We're not trying to pump and dump cards. We're just showing you what we see and just going off that. So it's all history repeats itself, and that's what we're using. And I guess I can throw this in at this point. So right now we've made a partnership with a Sports Card Investor and the Market Movers data tool. We're not affiliates. We are affiliates, but we're not just affiliates where we're just saying, hey, go click on this link and we get 20% and it helps out the channel. We do have a link, or you can use Moneyball on the Market Movers, the Moneyball code for 20%. But we're partners with them. We're going to be working with them and helping them improve the tool and giving them ideas. Great. And going back and forth. So it should be pretty fun with two people with card experience and data experience, putting out this podcast, helping people, and also working with the tool as well.
That's awesome. Congratulations to you guys. And Ryan, before we go, you also have a station or a channel. You're at every, I can't even believe it, but you're at every card show where you try. That's why you guys are together. Why I got you guys together, because you were at a card show with Jordan over the weekend, but you try to hit every card show you can, right?
Yeah. So this is show 46 this weekend. I'm going to hit 52 shows this year. My goal is eventually to hit up all 50 states. And I know some states don't have card shows right now. I'm going to figure that out in a year or 2 years and like work with LCS or something like that, even if they have to have like an impromptu show. But I want to be the first person that hits up all 50 states for card shows, kind of shows both the food side of things as well as like any trails running and the card show. I kind of like doing multiple things at a show or a card show vlog rather than just the show, because there's so much more to an area than the card show and the dealers.
When you're in Philly, did you get a cheesesteak?
I unfortunately I did not at that time.
Well, I think
I did get the one cheesesteak, but I wasn't able to go to the really good restaurants that I wanted to go to.
I know. I think Jordan had asked. I sent you a couple, but I think there's another show in December, right? So if you come back, we'll make sure we hook up, and I'll take.
That'd be good. I'm gonna try to get to that December show. I haven't fully decided yet if I'm going to that show or not, because I want to add another state. I'm still looking at possibly something in California. But if that ends up falling through, I'm going to go to the Philly show. I like the Philly show a lot. It was a ton of fun. I picked up some really cool low pop vintage, like a 1946 Propaganda, which is a Cuban brand of cards. And I got a Jimmy Fox, which was a 3 miscut. A 3 was the highest grade on that. But still, it's Jimmy Fox's last card. It's a card from Cuba. They had super, super thin card stock. So the 3s are the highest grades that you're going to find on that stuff. And Fox is a legend that people just don't really talk about.
No, that's awesome. And people will be able to watch the show and be like, I think I saw that kid Ryan somewhere. And you probably did. If you're at a card show, you probably saw Ryan walking around. But guys, I can't.
10 people were like, hey, I recognize you. And they started talking to him.
Celebrity. It's like, wait a minute, I know you from somewhere.
No one came up to me and was like, hey, you're sports card analytics. I recognize you.
Can you take a picture
I had to tell
of me and Ryan?
Yeah. I was his camera guy.
He filmed too.
Were there influencers walking around with any camera crews at the show?
There was Kenneth Fornos was there, and then J Mac.
Okay.
So there's 2 other guys.
That's another thing, right? That's grown from this the crazy boom of the hobby over the couple years is the content creators and their camera crews. But
it's usually I have my friend Steven who helps out a little bit, but usually I'm just vlogging solo at these shows. It helps out when I have a friend that helps like do the deals because people enjoy seeing the negotiation side of things and then like live time rather than just what I pick up. So I do try to have a few things that are recorded, but kind of solo. I just take my vlog camera, go. I have all the dealers look at me like I'm crazy as I'm doing B-roll across all their cards, to making camera angles, shooting, doing interviews, flipping it around. People are like, "What are you doing?" Best is at the airport though. People just look at you so weird.
Oh, yeah, it was funny. He wanted me to record him doing a handshake with a guy, and he handed me the camera, and I took it, and I didn't turn it on. I didn't know how to turn it on. So I'm just holding it. He does the handshake with the guy, and
get it? Got it.
He's like, "Did you turn it on?" I was like, "I don't know. I thought you did." He just handed it to me, so I had to like return it on and then redo the handshake. The guy's just like, "What is going on?" Like, it was pretty funny.
That's great. No, it's a different world. It's great though. But Ryan, I know you got a plane to catch. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys coming on. I love giving the guys that watch the channel more research, more resources, more information, because that's what it's all about to be successful. The days of buying a card, and those days I'm afraid are over. So it's important that you get educated and get as much knowledge as you can. Watch Moneyball Cards, YouTube and podcast, right? Both?
So we just have a YouTube channel for now. We're going to go on different podcast platforms, but since it's a little bit visual, we prefer people watch on YouTube so they can see charts.
Makes perfect sense. So catch these guys. I'll make sure I put a link in the episode. And I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for coming on. And until next time, guys, take care.
Hey, thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.